Hi, my name is Paul Grogan and welcome to the Gaming Rules monthly video log for the month of December 2020. This is the last month of a crazy year and this video log is going to cover everything that I've done since the last video log. Now I tried to get these out within the first week of the month. This one's slightly delayed, so apologies for that. This one's being recorded around the middle of December, but it will be a bumper video log where I cover everything that I've done. Probably, I think it's about the last 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks anyway. Yeah, my plan was to get this done at the start of the month. Unfortunately, this month is looking crazy busy work-wise, and I had to... there was a number of deadlines that I had for work, and then as time went on, I actually thought, am I going to have time to do the video log this month? And the reality is that I've still got work that I need to get done by the end of the month, but I just thought, no, I'm going to get it done because I enjoy doing these. And I know a number of people have said that, you know, this is one of their favorite types of content. So yes, so I've pushed the work to one side. I've taken the day off today from doing the paid work, and I'm going to be producing this video log. So yes, apologies, it's a little bit delayed. I'll try and get back on track in January, although you never know. Right, so let's first of all start talking about all of the games that I've played since the last one. And interestingly enough, well, it's not that interesting, but the last video log actually was released on the 7th of November, although I recorded it on the 5th of November. So actually, between recording the last video log and it actually going live, I did get a game in, and this was on Friday the 6th of November. This was Paladins of the West Kingdom. Now, I'd just done an unboxing for this, I think the week before. And obviously because of the coronavirus situation in the UK and lockdown restrictions and all of that stuff, we're not able to have anybody around at the moment to play games. So this was played over Tabletop Simulator. So this is Paladins of the West Kingdom. This is the first of the West Kingdom games that I've got. I've played Architects, but I don't own Architects. Shem sent me a copy of Paladins. He said out of the ones that he's done, this is the one that I would probably enjoy the most. And then yeah, that game arrived, physically arrived, looked at it, very, very pretty, and then went to Tabletop Simulator to play because, as I say, can't have people around. The Tabletop Simulator mod for Paladins of the West Kingdom is an official one. It is fully approved and it's a really good mod. It's all there. It's got some scripting built in. And yeah. So, very quick thought about what I think about the game. Well, I enjoyed it. A lot of the game is very similar to what we've got in other games. Is like, go here, get resources, go here, spend those resources to do this. But it's all nicely presented in a package. I thought the rulebook was okay. I know a couple of people have said that the rulebook wasn't great, but I found it okay to learn how to play the game from. And yeah, the game flowed quite nicely. There was a couple of things that I wasn't too sure about. Now, one of the things that you can do in the game is you can recruit these, what are they called? Like thieves or something. They're not called thieves. I can't remember what they're called. But whenever you recruit one, they are like a wild card. They're really good for you. But every time you get one of these cards, and it has either 0, 1, or 2 coins on it, and you get those coins because the thief has stolen some money. And you're all drawing from one common deck. And that randomness can be a little bit too much. And in fact, in our game that we played, Rick, unfortunately, he kept drawing the 0 cards. And I was quite lucky with the cards. So that can be a problem. When you've got cards with, 3 different values in a deck and they're not balanced, so the 0 ones are just bad, you get nothing, and the 2 ones are great, you get 2 money, and you're all drawing from the same deck, and one player is unlucky enough to get all the 0s and maybe the occasional 1, and the other players get all the 2s. Statistically, that shouldn't happen, but unfortunately it does. Whether it actually impacted the result of our game or not, I'm sure it probably did. Because otherwise, what's the point of having it in there? So that bit of the game was a little bit too random for me. I've since been contacted by a number of people who've got all sorts of house rules for it. Some people say just treat the cards as if they're always 1 coin. And I get that. I also get that it's supposed to be, it's a risk versus reward thing and you never know what you're going to get. I understand that. But when it plays out that one player ends up with a huge advantage and another player gets a huge disadvantage, not keen on that. Another suggestion was that each player has their own deck of cards with the same mix in, so that at least each player, has got their own sort of variability within their own deck. But either way, they are minor things about the game. I've only played it the once, but I know for some people, they said that randomness was so much they would never play the game again. So it's clearly a problem for some people. It felt like a problem to me at the time. I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this. But it's my first playthrough of it. There's also been a little bit of criticism of the wall cards, because when you get a wall card, it's a bit random what you get. And I can see that as well. But the difference with the wall cards is they're all good. And they all seem to be roughly balanced. You just don't know what you're going to get, but they're all about the same power level, and I didn't have a problem with that. Other than that, the only comment that I would make on the game is, and this isn't really a problem for me, but it didn't seem that thematic in a way, okay? And I know some people want a lot of the theme in the game. It was a case of you build this particular building, and that particular building gives you this resource. There isn't really, I didn't see the thematic connection between that building getting you this resource, and then you use that resource to be able to build other buildings. There are basically three things in the game, and you're trying to balance them. And you build one type of thing, and it gives you the other thing, and then you build that type of thing, and it gives you this thing. Again, mechanically, I enjoyed the game, and I definitely play it again. And there is a solo mode, which I will be covering in January. I've actually got a date for that. Anyway, that's Paladins of the West Kingdom, and that was quite long, but that is my initial thoughts from my first play. Bearing in mind, that was on the 6th of November, and I'm trying to remember what it was about the game. Anyway, on the 11th of November, I played a solo game of Praga Caput Regni. Now, I think in the previous video log, I talked about the fact that I'd played a two-player game with Graham, a friend of mine, and on the 11th of November, I did a solo playthrough. So this was a sponsored stream from Delicious Games and Rio Grande Games, and I did a tutorial and playthrough of the solo game. Now, Praga Caput Regni is a game that I very much enjoy. There are a couple of parts of the game which I thought were, oh, this is a little bit fiddly, this bit, having to remember this little bonus here and that little bonus there. I talked about that on the last video log. My opinion is still the same, but once you've played the game a couple of times, it does all kind of flow together. The solo game, there's actually two solo games. There's one included in the box, and there's one that's available online where you can download some cards and print them off and everything else. The solo game that's included in the box is essentially the multiplayer game without another player. So you are taking actions every turn, and you're trying to score as many points as you can. Some people don't like that in a solo game. Some people want an AI that they're competing against or some kind of objective. For me, I don't mind that whatsoever, because I enjoy playing the game. I enjoy the mechanisms of the game. I enjoy the process of choosing an action, deciding what to do, and building up my own thing, okay? The fact that there's another player who's also doing the same and we're competing on score, for me is a kind of secondary thing. Of course, I always play games to try and win, but I'm playing the game because I enjoy what's going on in the game. And the solo game is exactly that. You basically just play the game until the game ends, and then you add up your points. The one that's available downloadable online, where you're playing against some guy called Peter, that is a bit more advanced, and there is a bit of an AI in that, I think. I've not tried that yet. But for me, I don't mind that in a solo game, and I very much enjoy that game. So that video is on the channel now if you want to see how the solo game plays, or in fact, you could just watch that video to learn pretty much how to play the game, because as I say, it's pretty much the same. Right, then Hallertau arrived. Hallertau was one of my most anticipated games for this year. I think originally it was supposed to be out last year, but it got delayed. This is Uwe Rosenberg's big new game. It's got expert level on the box. It's a big box, and for people like me who are fans of Uwe Rosenberg, we're like, oh, is this going to be the next Feast for Odin? Is this going to be the next Caverna? And it's kind of the things that I'd been hearing were that it was going to be that. So what I did is the game arrived, I did an unboxing of it, and then I actually played it 3 times within I think a 24-hour period. I did a solo game one afternoon to learn how to play the game. That was live streamed to my Patreon supporters. But then in the evening, I did a 2-player playthrough with Tom Heath from Slicker Drip. So me and Tom played through it, 2-player game. That's live on the channel if you're interested in watching me and Tom playing that. It was a playthrough, but I think it was a tutorial as well. I can't quite remember, so apologies for that. It wasn't a sponsored one, so I don't know if it was more a playthrough than a tutorial, or I actually did teach the rules as I went along. I'm not sure. But then off camera, I did another solo playthrough. I say off camera, it was actually streamed. Again, it was another private behind the scenes video from my Patreon supporters. I got up the next morning and basically I didn't want to put it away, and I didn't want to go back to work. I decided, nope, I like this game so much, I'm going to sit and play it. So I turned the cameras on and did a live stream. So yeah, I played it solo. I've not played it since, and that's not because I don't want to. It's just there's so many games at the moment. So I can give you my thoughts on the game after 3 plays of it. Loved it, really enjoyed it, liked the mechanisms in the game, I liked the worker placement, I liked the cards and everything else. After 3 games, is this the next Caverna or Feast for Odin? No, it's not. Okay, in my opinion. It's good and I really enjoyed it, and the solo game is very similar to Praga in that you just play the game and you add up your points. There isn't another player who you're competing with, so that's fine. My concern in the game is that getting your community centre to the end of the track seems to be what you need to do. That is worth so many points. All of the rest of the stuff is worth points as well, but that is worth so many points, that's where the bulk of your points are going to be. And after you've played the game a couple of times, the puzzle of working out all of the resources and everything else to get that community centre to the end, you should be able to do it. Tom did it in the playthrough that we did. I didn't, but I learned why I didn't, and then in my next game, I did. And I think you should always be able to do that. If you manage your tools and manage your other stuff correctly, you should always be able to do that. Assuming you do that, it's then just a case of the points from the rest of the cards. And there's 2 different types of decks, and there's 4 different decks of the first type, and there's 4 different decks of the second type, and you can mix and match. So you've got 16 combinations of cards, which is nice. There's a lot of variability in there in terms of the cards. But the core game is still the same. 75% of the core game, roughly, is the same. The cards are what provide a different bit of variability, and the cards give you a bit of direction. Now, whether that direction is forced direction, because if you get cards that say, oh, we're going to give you a bonus if you do this, and we're going to give you a bonus if you do this, oh, and if you do this, you're going to get a bonus. You're like, okay, well, I'll do that then. Suddenly, it's a fine balance between effectively saying to the player, look, here's some cards, you really need to do this, or here's some things you might want to do. And in this game, I'm not sure where that is. I certainly felt that I was a bit driven by the cards. I'm not saying I didn't have any choice, because the actions you take, you've definitely got choice in them, but the direction that I took, I felt was a bit driven by the cards. So my concern about the game now, whilst I really enjoy the game and I would happily play it again, is every game just about solving the puzzle to get the community centre to the end, which doesn't seem that hard a puzzle, certainly in solo. Maybe it's harder in multiplayer game because you're fighting over the spaces on the worker placement part with other people. And then it's just a case of the cards. And I'm not sure. So yeah, really enjoyed the game, want to play it more. That's my initial thoughts just after a few plays. Very, very excited, very, very hyped, very much looking forward to it. But then on reflection, whilst I still think the game was great and I enjoyed it, I'm like, does this have legs? I'm not sure. Next, 14th. This is Saturday, and this is Chip Theory Games wanted me to do a video for Burn Cycle as part of their Kickstarter campaign. So in November, Chip Theory Games did a 10-day Kickstarter for the latest creation, which is Burn Cycle. Now, I'm a fan of Chip Theory Games as a publisher. I love what they do. I love just the way that they approach everything and the way that they run as a company. And I've got to know them a bit over the last year, 18 months or so. I'm not quite on the stage where I'm working fully professionally with them. I'm doing bits of videos for them, but that's mainly to help them sort of market and sell their game. I'm not doing any tutorial videos or rule books or anything like that, but I like them as a publisher and I like what they do. I also like the fact that they do these games which are unique. I don't have another game in my collection which is like Too Many Bones. I don't have another game in my collection which is like Cloudspire. And when I get Burn Cycle, I'm not going to have another game in my collection that's like Burn Cycle. And thematically, and this is the problem that I have with Chip Theory Games, Too Many Bones is a game that I want to play a lot more of, and it deserves to be played a lot more of. More on that later. Cloudspire is a fantastic game, okay? My favourite game of 2019. I've played it loads, but I want to play it more. I've probably played it about 12 times, maybe more. I want to play it 100 times. So all of a sudden, they've got this new game coming out, Burn Cycle, which thematically sounds like it could be my favourite game of theirs. It's like robots in the future, it's about hacking, it's about exploring, and unlike Too Many Bones and Cloudspire, where the focus is on fighting, it's all about fighting, they are essentially combat games. Burn Cycle is more about sneaking around, exploring, avoiding the guards, and a bit of fighting if you need to, but that's not the focus of the game. And it has this extra bit where you can go into the matrix and you've got things moving around in there and you've got pings and yeah, very, very cool. Anyway, if you're interested, the video is on my channel. It is me and Scott Morris from Crits Happen being taught how to play the game by Shannon from Chip Theory Games, and we did a 3-player game and we played 1 floor. A full game is 3 floors, and then there's a campaign mode as well, but that video will give you a bit of a taster of, yeah, what it is. And right now, I saw this morning, actually the Pledge Manager is open. So if you're watching this video roughly at the time I'm recording it and you're interested in Burn Cycle, the Pledge Manager is open. I'm very, very keen to play more about the game, to play more of the game, and straight away, I wanted to play it again. However, I've made a choice not to, and the reason is, what we played is not the finished game. The game is still in development, and because I have limited time and there's too many games to play, having the option of playing the game again now is like, oh yeah, well that was really cool, but it's going to change. So I'm thinking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on all of the other games, and then when Burn Cycle is finished, that's when I'm going to play it. Whether that be next year or the start of the year afterwards, I don't know, but I'm very, very keen to play the finished copy. And that's not from I want to play with the physical components point of view, it's I want to play what is the finished game in terms of rules and everything else. So anyway, that's Burn Cycle. Next up, 18th. I did a solo game of Merv. So Merv, The Heart of the Silk Road from Osprey Games. If I wasn't professionally involved in this game, because Osprey Games sponsored me to create the official how to play video for the game and for the solo playthrough, then strong contender for Game of the Year. Okay, if I was to take my professional hat off for a minute and just put my personal hat on, Merv is one of the best games of this year, I think, that's come out. Okay, now personal hat off, professional hat back on. I shouldn't really be saying that personal stuff, but I always do. I always break my own rules. But you know what I mean. I'm a gamer at heart, and even though they commissioned me to make that video for the game, I still have my own personal thoughts on that game. Okay, and Merv, The Heart of the Silk Road, excellent, really, really, really good. On the 18th, I did a solo playthrough, and if you want to watch the solo playthrough and see how the solo game works, you can. Unfortunately, there was an error right at the start, okay? Now, the designer was watching. This is me absolving myself of any blame or responsibility, even though it was my fault. The designer was watching, the developer was watching, and the publisher was watching, and nobody spotted it. But right at the start of that playthrough, if you do watch it, we got the setup wrong, okay? The turn order of the meeples is not supposed to be like it was in the solo game, and you're supposed to put the palace card so that it isn't in the top. It isn't the top card. Basically, what happened in our playthrough, the first AI card that got drawn was the palace, which means the other player, the corrupt magistrate, I think it is. Yeah, the corrupt magistrate puts a meeple in the palace, but because they haven't done anything else, it's not going to score them any points. And they ended up putting it in a particular space, which then became useless for them, and that's already been thought of, and that's designed into the solo rules that the palace card does not go as the top card, and unfortunately we missed that in the setup. So yeah, the video is there, it's on the channel, the rest of the video is fine, but that little bit in the setup was slightly wrong. The solo game is interesting, and I'm just going to compare the solo game to the solo game of Hallertau and Praga Kaput Regni, which are both no solo AI. The Merv solo game, got an itchy nose. The Merv solo game does have an AI. it has the Corrupt Magistrate. So you draw these cards and that tells you what the Corrupt Magistrate is doing, but you also have to use the High Courtier. So the High Courtier is an extra set of rules that you use in a 2-player game, and because the solo game is you versus an AI, you also have to use the High Courtier rules. Now for me personally, I thought the solo rules were good and they worked and they were clever. They were very clever in the way that they worked. But as I mentioned earlier on, I like my solo games nice and easy with not much fiddliness in the AI. And it wasn't, but any more than that, and I would have had a problem with it. I've played a number of solo games in the last few months where the fiddliness of the AI was too much for me. And it just melted my brain and I didn't enjoy it. Merv wasn't that. Merv I did enjoy, but it was at the upper limit of the amount of extra stuff that I would want to do for an AI player. Merv, for me, and I know I've spoken to Rado about this, Rado loves the 2-player game of Merv and loves the way the High Courtier works. For me, I'd always probably prefer to play Merv as a 3 or 4-player game. And that's not to say the solo game or the 2-player game is bad. They're not, they're really good. It's just my preference is that I just want to control me. I don't want to be controlling other stuff. Anyway, that is my solo playthrough of Merv. That is on the channel now if you want to go and watch it. On the 20th, I played another game, which I'm super, super excited about, and this is Anno 1800 from Martin Wallace and Cosmos Games. Now, this game is not due to be released in English until probably June of next year. But the German copies are available and it's language independent, mostly. Okay, so of course lots of people are getting German copies shipped to them in, you know, America and Europe and the UK and everything else because we're excited about the game. It's Martin Wallace, it's Anno 1800. Now, personally, I'm a massive fan of the Anno series of computer games. They might even be my favourite set of computer games of all time. I've played all of them, all the way back from whatever the original was. I've played Anno 1404, Anno 1602, yeah, Anno 1503. I've played Anno 2070, I've played Anno 2205. I've played all of them. I haven't played Anno 1800, okay? It's the only one I haven't played, but I'm a massive fan of the series. And some of you who are watching this, who've known me for a very long time, will know that I've been designing my own Anno board game for the last 10 years, which has never got anywhere. Well, it kind of did. It kind of turned into a card game, which did get finished. But anyway, yeah. So I love the Anno series of computer games, and I was very keen to play this game. So this is on the channel now. It is a 2-player game with Christoph from Meeple's Corner, because Christoph got a German copy in, opened it up, and then sent it to me. I've still got it. I need to check what he wants me to do with it. I assume he wants it back. But he wanted me to have it temporarily, I assume temporarily, so that I could cover it on the channel, and I was excited about playing it. So I learned how to play in the afternoon, and then me and Christoph played it in the evening, and that is on the channel now. It is a 2-player tutorial and playthrough of Anno 1800. You can get German copies, and it'll be available in English next year. What did I think of the game? Fantastic, and I want to play it again. Absolutely, really, really loved it. I have some concerns about the end of the game because it's player driven, and theoretically it could go on forever because the game ends under a certain condition, and I can't remember offhand what that condition is. But basically, if players just want to count, it's emptying your hand of cards, that's it. When a player empties their hand of cards, that triggers the end of the game. But the more and more stuff you do in the game, you could just develop your island, you could build some extra buildings, you could produce more resources, and you can hire some more workers. And every time you hire more workers, you get more cards. So theoretically, me and Christoph could have been playing for another 2 hours, if we'd have wanted to. As it was, Christoph thought he was ahead, so he tried to empty his hand of cards early and drive the game to an end quicker than I would be able to get enough points. I think we actually tied. I might be wrong on this, but I think we tied for score. I can't quite remember. But anyway, love the game. Definitely want to play it more. Yeah. There is a tabletop simulator mod for it as well. So yeah, that's on the list of games that I want to play more, just need a bit more time. Right. On the 22nd, me, Vicky, Rick and Victoria, we got together and we did another case of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. I've spoken about this on every vlog for the last few months because we're playing it once or twice a month. And last month we did case 5. We're playing through the green box. So this is the Baker Street Irregulars. Quick summary, it's the best box by far, right? They're really, really good. The cases are fantastic. They're really well written. The stories are good. we're enjoying them so much, okay? Case 6 was not our favourite one from the box, but it was really good. And there is something very, very special about Case 6 that I cannot tell you about because of spoilers. If you have played Case 6, drop me a message, let me know, and we can talk about it, because it's just really interesting. Now, the last couple of cases have been difficult for us because we've been playing it, and unlike a lot of the other cases where we felt, oh, right, we have 4 or 5 different places to go, where should we go? The last couple of cases, we felt we don't actually know where to go. Well, maybe we'll go here. Okay, we'll go there. Did that lead to anything? Well, maybe it sort of led to here. Okay, let's go there. And we played for about an hour and a half, and we're picking up bits of information, and nothing is coming together. Nothing makes sense, and we feel completely lost, and we're like, we don't know where we're going here. And then eventually things start to fall into place. And at the end, we get most of the questions right. I can't actually remember what we scored on that one. I think we got 105. I think we did quite well on that one, but fantastic. So Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, I've been playing the game since 1983. It's one of my favourite games of all time. I love it. If you don't know anything about Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective and you're listening to this video log and you've not caught any of my previous video logs where I've talked about it, then go and check out the video that me and Rick did where we played through a demo scenario of the game. It's on the channel, it's about 6 months ago. That'll give you an idea of what it is. But cooperative, narrative-driven, story-based game, not really a board game, but very, very good. Right, on the 24th, me and Vicky played Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. This is not live streamed. We finished scenario 5. So the first 5 scenarios of Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion are the tutorial. By the end of scenario 5, you know all of the rules of the game, and then you start with scenario 6, which is, right, now you know everything, just let's get on with the game. And that's where we are. So our characters are now level 2. We've got some stuff. I'm loving it. Really, really loving it. I mean, Gloomhaven is a game which we both enjoy playing. And I just really, it's really nice to go back to it. Now, I've really only played Gloomhaven 4 players before, so playing it 2 players is quite different. It is shorter, and it's probably a better number. I think 2 or 3 is probably the best number for Gloomhaven. 4, the games do tend to be a little bit long. Not that we've had that much of a problem with it, but I think 3 might be the optimum number for the game. But we're really enjoying it. We're going to play more over Christmas. We have on our list of Christmas things to do, play more Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. I don't know how much we'll play, but we'll be getting through them. So next up is scenario 6. Scenario 5 is done. On the 26th of November, I did a couple of practice games of Kingdom Rush. Now, this was again live streamed, but only to a private video. This was a behind the scenes footage of Paul learning how to play Kingdom Rush. Now, I half knew how to play Kingdom Rush because I'd done a bit of work on the rulebook, and I used to do demos for Lucky Duck Games in the UK, and I've demoed it a few times. But since then, you know, things have changed since I did the demoing, so I had to learn how to play, because at the weekend, at the end of November, I was doing a sponsored live playthrough of Kingdom Rush. So what I needed to do is I needed to sit down and I needed to spend the afternoon learning how to play and playing through the game. And Az from Lucky Duck Games was in the chat and he was helping me learn the game. I'm going to talk about Kingdom Rush in a minute because they were just practice games which led up to Virtual GridCon 2. So Virtual GridCon 2 was at the end of November. It was a free to attend online convention which I organised, and it was held over mainly a Discord server. And then people would break out into rooms and they would play games against each other using whatever method they wanted to. They could use Skype, share screen, they could use Tabletop Simulator, Tabletopia. Some people were playing on Board Game Arena. That's completely up to them, but loads of people were there for the weekend, turned up, organised games to play. Some publishers were there doing demos of their games, which was really nice to see. What I did is I did 15 live streams over the weekend. So I was trying to raise money for charity. We set a low goal this time, and thank you very much to everybody who donated. I'm going to put a picture on screen now. This was the final total, so we made over £1,000, which was great. Now, I wasn't trying to push it too much because this time, unlike the summer charity event that I did, there were no prizes. Organising that was... it worked out about over 120 hours of admin to do the summer charity raffle, okay, which of course was not paid for, and there was just no way that I had the time to organise that this time. So I said, look, we're doing donations, here's the charity page, you can't win anything, but please, if you are taking part in the virtual convention, if you are watching any of my live streams, please consider donating to charity, because I put all of that work into organising it, and it was completely free to attend. I didn't make a penny from it, but it was a lot of work. So yeah, we raised some money for charity, and that was good to see. And thank you to everybody who watched the live streams over the weekend, because all of that ad revenue from the live streams also will go to charity. So what did I do? What were the 15 live streams that I did at Virtual GridCon 2? And these are all on the channel if you are interested in any of them. First up, on the Thursday night, I did something fun for the opening ceremony, and this was a game of Concept. So if you know Concept, so if you don't know Concept, it's a very, very simple game. It's a lot of fun, and it's basically charades, but instead of acting things out, you put cubes on pictures on a board, okay? You're trying to describe something. And what I did is I did a special edition of Concept where I basically described board games, and people in the chat tried to guess at what those board games were. If you want to join in, you can, okay? I mean, you can't join in live because it's already happened. But if you're interested in that, go and check it out. It's on the channel now, and you can play along. Just don't look at the chat, and just play along at home, and try and work out what board game I'm describing from those. So that was fun. Me and Vicky spent some time the day before working out what we was going to do. But thank you to those people who took part in that. That was really good fun. Then on the Friday, Mage Knight, Roll for Adventure, Marvel Champions, The King is Dead, and Red Cathedral. Okay, I'm going to be here a while, aren't I? Mage Knight first. Mage Knight, my #1 favourite game of all time. I just don't play it enough. Really enjoyed it. It's been so long since I've played it, so I was a little bit rusty, but I played 2-player Blitz Conquest with Rick. We used a tabletop simulator mod that is fantastic. It's very, very heavily scripted. It's really, really good job. So massive thank you to the person who created that mod. It's really, really good. I think they were in the chat as well. I think they popped into the chat to say hello. But yeah, that's Mage Knight. We played 2-player Blitz Conquest. We were going to play 2-player Full Conquest, but I was a bit concerned by time, so we played Blitz Conquest, and it's a good job we did, because we finished just in time. And yeah, Mage Knight it's just a brilliant game, so I won't gush too much about it, but if you want to see that playthrough, that is on the channel now. Definitely want to play more Mage Knight. Roll for Adventure is a game that I have spoken about before. I've not done any videos for it yet until that Saturday, where I got together, again, it was Rick, because he'd taken the day off. The plan was Rick was going to come round here and we were going to play games all day. But of course we can't do that because of lockdown. So me, Rick, and Matthew Dunstan, the co-designer of Roll for Adventure, we played that. That was me with the physical game, sharing my screen over Skype with Rick and Matt. It's a cooperative fantasy game. It's a family weight game. It's just a lot of fun to play. It's just really good, and I think it's underrated. I don't think the game did that well, but it's actually a really good game, and I really enjoy it. So yeah, that's Roll for Adventure. Then me and Rick played Marvel Champions. Again, Rick was going to come around with some decks, and we were going to play it. We used Tabletop Simulator. It was an unofficial mod, because Asmodee are never going to sanction an official mod for people to be able to play their games online. But yeah, we played that. We didn't finish it, so we finished it a week or two later. So there's a 2-part series of videos on my channel, split by a couple of weeks, where I'm playing Hulk, Rick's playing Black Widow, and we take on Kang the Conqueror. So yeah, if you're interested in a Marvel Champions playthrough with me and Rick, that's on the channel. Then this is still Friday, right? Then on the Friday late afternoon, I played The King is Dead 2nd edition. This is from Osprey Games. This is 2nd edition of an existing game, and lots of people have been raving about this game and hyping it and talking about it and everything else. I didn't know that much about it, other than it looked like something that I wanted to try. It looked fairly abstract. Cards that just put cubes on a board and move them around, and another card that moves this cube to there, okay? But I wanted to try it, and I'd heard good things about it. Lots of people were saying really good things about it. But then, a week before, in one of Matthew Dunstan's live Q&As that he does. He does a live show every twice a week. And I was in one of them, and we were talking about a particular concept, and The King is Dead came up in the subject of conversation. And there were things that he said about the game that made me think, oh dear, I'm not going to like this. So I was a little bit worried about it going in. And the reason for that is, and I'm trying to remember what Matt was particularly talking about, but I think it was about making moves in a game and understanding the implications of those moves. And if you can't work out the implications, then you're going to struggle. And that's me. There are certain games that I can't play because I can't work out, okay, what's this actually going to do? And one of the clever things with The King is Dead is you've got the Welsh, the Scottish and the English all fighting for control of England, but you as a player, you are not one of those factions. So you are moving around the Scottish cubes, the English cubes and the Welsh cubes, right? You are influencing all of the different factions in England, but you are not one of those factions. And the way the game ends, the game can end in two different ways. And if it ends in one way, like if the English have control of, you know, the board, then whoever's got the most English cubes wins. But if the game ends with the French causing so much disruption, then it ends with whoever's got the most complete sets of cubes. So you're like, oh, okay, you've got to manipulate the board and you've got to manipulate the influence and you've got to try and work out how that's going to affect you. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to handle it. As it turns out, and this is my opinion based on one game, brilliant game. Really, really good. Now, we only played the basic game because the new second edition comes with a whole host of extra cards that really mix things up. We played the basic game where all players have 8 cards, everybody has exactly the same 8 cards, and during a game, you will play each of those cards once. It sounds so simple, right? And all the cards do is move things around on the board. But the clever part of the game is on your turn, you can play a card or pass. And when 3 players pass in succession, that triggers a scoring, and then you carry on playing. And over the whole game, you will only play those 8 cards. You never get them back. Once you've played it, it's gone. So deciding whether to play or pass is a really important decision. And if you play a card, that's it. That's that card gone for the whole game. And there's a nice balance between hanging fire and not playing the cards too early and seeing what the board situation develops and then coming in at the end and, you know, making the final moves to really have the final say. That's one aspect of the game. And the other aspect of the game is getting in there early, because on a couple of my cards, I waited too long. And when an area, when a part of the board, a territory on the board is locked down because that conflict has been resolved, you then can't move any cubes in and out of it. So it got to the end of the game and I had a card and I'm like, I can't play this card. I've waited too long. And it's really, really clever, and I definitely want to play it again, and that is The King is Dead, second edition from Osprey Games and Piers Sylvester. So many good games. Speaking of good games, Red Cathedral, another game which for the last few months has been hyped everywhere. Everywhere you turn, you see people talking about Red Cathedral, and those people who were lucky enough to play an advanced copy of the game have raved about it and said it was fantastic. So I reached out to the publisher, and I didn't really have any professional relationship with the publisher at all. So I reached out to them with my begging cap in hand saying, hello, my name's Paul, I've got a YouTube channel and this, that and the other, and I've heard good things about your game and I'd love to cover it on the channel. And they contacted me back and went, oh, Paul, we're big fans of yours. You know, thank you for it. And I'm like, oh, great, cool. And they said, yeah, we'll try and get you a copy. So a copy of Red Cathedral arrived. I did an unboxing of it. It looked really pretty. And then I played it on the Friday night of GridCon. And wow, what a game. Really, really, really good. Definitely want to play it again. It's hard to try and explain, considering the amount of detail that I've just talked about in all of the other games today so far, why I enjoyed the game so much. It's just, it flows together so smoothly. The way that the dice work, the way that the action selection works, the way that the players are collaboratively building up, the Red Cathedral and the way that all works. Even just the gaining of resources is done in a nice way. Unfortunately, that video, and if you do watch that video, you will get an idea of how the game plays. It was not a sponsored video at all. and I'm glad it wasn't a sponsored video because we got something wrong. Okay, this is the Friday. I've hardly slept all week. I've done 7 live streams already, and I'm exhausted, and I'm rushing around trying to eat me dinner while I set the game up. I got the setup wrong. Okay, so if you do go and watch the video, or if you did watch the video, when we're about 2/3 of the way through, we start talking about the fact that we might have broken the game, and the game's flawed, and there's something wrong with it, and it's not going to work, and then we're talking about this, and then 5 minutes later, somebody said, "You've got the wrong number of cards on the Cathedral." Oh yeah. You're supposed to use, in a 3-player game, 18 cards in the Cathedral, because each player can claim 6 of them, and I only had 16 cards. I'd done the setup wrong, so that's on me. It's my fault. We then finished that game. Obviously, it wasn't really a valid game because we didn't use the right number of cards, but the game was great. Yeah, so that's Red Cathedral. That's coming out next year from Cosmos Games in the UK, but Devir Games is the original publisher of it, and yeah, really, really good. Everything that everybody's been saying about the game, yeah, correct. Right, I then got some sleep. The next morning, I got up, Saturday morning, God, it's only Saturday, played a 4-player game of Merv, the Heart of the Silk Road. So, I'm going to refer you back to what I said earlier on when I talked about the solo game of Merv, where I said, I think Merv for me would work better as a 3 and 4-player game. And because of the lockdown restrictions and everything else, although I created the how to play video for Merv, I hadn't actually played it. Okay? And the solo game, that was a solo game. So I'd never played Merv multiplayer. Okay? I had a practice game where I played 3-handed, and I played 1 round of it when I was learning the game. But other than that, I'd never played it multiplayer. And on the Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, it was like 9 o'clock Saturday morning, Vicky's still asleep, we did a 4-player game of Merv, and I am going to refer back to my previous comment of potential game of the year. Okay, for some people, I know that is game of the year. It's really, really good. And that was a fantastic game. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to play Merv again. 3 to 4 player is what I would play Merv at. Yeah, really good. Again, on the channel, if you want to see that 4-player playthrough. Next up, Winter Kingdom. Now, I'd played Winter Kingdom a couple of months before. Yeah, I think I played it at Spiel Digital. Winter Kingdom is the spiritual successor to Kingdom Builder. Same designer, Donald X, same publisher, Queen Games. But Winter Kingdom takes what is a family weight gateway game, which is Kingdom Builder, to a more complex Euro game for gamers while still maintaining the same DNA as Kingdom Builder. I really enjoy Winter Kingdom. I haven't played my physical copy. No, I have played my physical copy. I played it with Nick and Gemma. Yeah, ignore that. But we played over Tabletop Simulator because we're playing remotely in the times of lockdown. And yeah, really enjoyed the game, and it was very, very different from the first time I played Winter Kingdom. Even if you don't like Kingdom Builder, go and check it out, okay? Because if you don't like Kingdom Builder, I think I probably know why you don't like Kingdom Builder, and your fears may have been addressed, okay? It still has the same DNA, but there is so much more to do in Winter Kingdom than there is in Kingdom Builder. And the whole way that it does the special powers is different, and the twist cards and everything else. It's just, yeah. It's a game, however, although I like Winter Kingdom, it is a game for me that would be best played asynchronously over some kind of web interface, because when it's my turn, I need to look at the board. You have so many choices. You have so many options of where to go and what to do and which order to use your special abilities in, that I feel for me, Winter Kingdom would work better like Through the Ages. I would choose never to play Through the Ages in person again. Now, that's not because the game's bad. It's one of my favourite games. But with Through the Ages, I love... Oh, it's my turn. Right. Give me 10 minutes. I'm just going to have a look at the board. I'm just going to have a think about it. And I'm not holding anybody else up. Nobody's waiting for me. And I'm thinking about my move, and I do my move, and I think about it, and then I go, yeah, I'm doing my move. And that's, for me, I would... And this is me. This is my personal preference. I'd like that with Winter Kingdom. I'd like it to be my turn and me to be able to think about really what I'm going to do, and not feel rushed, even if the other players are not rushing me. If they're sat at the table and they're not doing anything, I would feel rushed. And you can plan a bit ahead. You get your card at the end of your previous turn, so you can plan a bit ahead. But I want to be able to look at the situation, because in my 2 games of Winter Kingdom that I've played so far, I've enjoyed both of them. I think the game's great. I'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot there's a cave over there. I could have done this. Oh, if I'd have just had a bit more time to think about it, I could have done that. So yeah, Winter Kingdom, really good. Looking forward to playing that game again, like all of these other ones that I've mentioned. Then what happened is I got together and we did a 3-player game of Praga Caput Regni. So this is me, Adam from Punchboard Reviews, Tom Heath from Slicker Drips. We did a 3-player game, again, real footage, overhead camera, me sharing my screen with the other 2. And this was a hard game to do remotely, because the board's huge, right? And there's so much stuff on there. But we did it, and we played a 3-player game. And it was a really, I love the game. I think the game is great. And it was interesting on how the points were leading up to the last couple of rounds of the game, okay? The points were relatively close leading up to the last couple of rounds. And I won't spoil it. But if you want to go and watch the last 10 minutes of the video, you will see that the points ended up nowhere near close. Massive difference in points. But yeah, I won't spoil the result. So yeah, Praga Caput Regni, played it, 3 times now? 2-player with Graham, solo, and then once with Adam and Tom. Yeah, if you wanted to play Praga Caput Regni this afternoon, I'd say forget editing this vlog. I'll play that instead. Really good game. Really enjoy it. Want to play it more. And one of the things about that game, compared to Hallertau, so if you remember what I said about Hallertau, every time you play Hallertau, I think, and this is just my opinion, you should be able to get your community centre to the end. Working out the puzzle of how you do that is a puzzle, but once you've worked it out, you should be able to do it, right? And then it's just the cards. In Praga Caput Regni, you've got the wall, you've got the cathedral, you've got building the buildings, you've got upgrading your own tiles, you've got progressing along the road, and you've got building the walls around your own big hexagon, right? And you will, so there's 6 different things to do? You might do 2 of those things completely, and another 2 things you won't touch at all, right? In that game, you will do hardly anything. It will take, if you would have to play the entire game 3 times as long as it is in order to get to the maximum of each of those things. So what I'm saying is, in one game, I'm like, oh right, I really worked hard and I got to the top of the cathedral, but I only did a little bit of the wall. I didn't build a single building or do any upgrades, and I only got one of those, and I only moved 1 space along the road. And in the next game, oh well, I got to the end of the road, but I didn't do any of this, and I didn't do it. You can't do everything in that game. And I like that. I prefer that. Because in a game where, again, going back to Hallertau, in a game where everybody moves their thing to the end, okay, so we've all done that, we've all got the 70 points for that, now it's just a case of the cards. In Praga, you've got such diverse strategies with so many different people doing so many different things. Yeah, really good. Really enjoy that about the game, the fact that every game you go into, you will not accomplish anywhere near as much as you probably would like to. Finally, on the Saturday, I did Kingdom Rush. So GridCon for me was 15 live streams over the weekend. None of them were sponsored. They were all purely funded through the Patreon campaign, apart from Kingdom Rush, okay? And the reason why I did a sponsored playthrough over that weekend is Lucky Duck Games wanted me to do some sponsored playthrough videos for Kingdom Rush. I wanted to do them, they wanted me to do them, and they were planned for December, because I wasn't able to fit the work in November, okay? So they were planned for December. And they weren't sure when they were going to be able to get the game to me. Arranging these playthroughs for a specific date is quite tricky. You've got to juggle a lot of different things. So I'd made an agreement with them that when they get the game to me, I will do some playthrough videos in December. However, what happened is they were able to get the game to me a week earlier than they'd planned. The game therefore was going to be released a little bit earlier, I think, than planned. And I said, oh, I'm probably not going to be able to do this in December. How about I do some over the GridCon weekend? And they said, yeah, that'll be fine. So that's why it all happened. Effectively, what I did is I brought forward a piece of work from December forward to the end of November. So that's why it got done, and that is why I did one sponsored playthrough that weekend. So Kingdom Rush. This is a new tower defense game from Lucky Duck Games. Backers are getting copies, or backers have now got copies. And yeah, they wanted me to do some videos for it. Because they're sponsored, again, probably shouldn't give too much of my personal opinion, but I do talk about my impressions of the game at the end of that playthrough video. So it's on the channel now. It is a solo playthrough series of videos, and I did the first 2 scenarios. And I can tell you what I said at the end. Kingdom Rush is a game which, if you'd have told me what the game was and then showed me the box, I wouldn't have been interested. Because tower defense game, based on an app, not that interested. Artwork that looks a bit cartoony, no. I would have said pass, okay? However, a couple of years ago, I was doing demos of the game at UK conventions for Lucky Duck Games. And when they gave me the game and they said, Paul, we'd like you to do demos of this to help promote it because we're going to be putting the game on Kickstarter. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then I played it and I was like, okay, this was not what I expected at all, right? I was expecting some silly, random, fluffy, roll dice, tower defense game with cartoony graphics. It's not. Okay, the graphics are cartoony, I'll give you that. But the game is a very, very clever tactical puzzle game. That's what it is, okay? You have to really, really plan ahead. You have to think what you're going to do, exactly where you're going to put it. And that, for me, and I love it when I'm proved wrong. I love it when I judge a book by its cover, which apparently somebody told me never to do, and then I'm proved completely wrong. And in Kingdom Rush is one of those games that I was wrong in, and it is very, very clever, and it is very, very tactical. And if you're interested in learning more, the video's on the channel. As I say, it was a solo tutorial and playthrough, and I did scenario 1 and I did scenario 2. And I take you step by step through how the game plays, and I focus on the solo play because I wasn't able to have anybody around. Anyway, there's going to be more Kingdom Rush material coming soon from me. I'll talk about that in a minute. But that is the end of Saturday. Sunday morning, I did something that I wasn't sure that I was going to do. And this is something, let's go back to the summer. Let's go back to the end of June 2020, where I host Virtual GridCon 1. So my first online virtual convention. On the Sunday morning, I decided to do something a little different. And I decided to get one of my old fighting fantasy books from the shelf and do a stream where I play along and the audience joins in. This is the summer, okay? This is the summer that I'm talking about. And I did Forest of Doom, number 3 in the original series from Puffin Books. I have the original copy of the book and we played through it. And it was fun and I enjoyed it. But I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I was maybe hoping to. And the audience participation was good and it worked, but it was a bit fiddly. It was a bit hard for me to scroll through all the chat and see all of the responses and try and work out what we were doing. So then when I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll make this like a regular thing, that every time I do a virtual convention, I'm hoping never to do another one, but on the Sunday morning, I'll do another fighting fantasy book. So I asked my Patreon supporters and they said, yeah, go on, do another one. We really enjoyed the first one. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do another one. And I was a bit nervous because I thought, I'm not sure it's going to go that well. My Patreon supporters voted. I gave them a photo of all of the books that I have and they chose Freeway Fighter. Now, having grown up playing Car Wars and love the idea of cars with guns in the future, post-apocalyptic, I was like, okay, we'll do Freeway Fighter. I seem to remember this being quite good fun. Thankfully, I don't remember any of the details of it. And we did that. And thankfully, thanks to some of my Patreon supporters helping out with some suggestions about how we can do the chat a bit better, I loved it. Really, really loved it. And I didn't want to stop. So this was on the Sunday morning. The video is on my channel now, Freeway Fighter, part 1, and we played through it. And we played through it for about an hour and a half or something like that. And And the reason I loved it is because of the people in the chat. Okay, I'm pointing to you. You might not have watched it, but if you are one of the people that watched it, thank you for making it one of the most enjoyable experiences of that weekend. Also, the book was good, right? And I was reading it and I was thinking, okay, so I bought this in 1984 or 85, whatever. I was a kid when I read this, and I think these books were aimed at kids, therefore the writing style is going to be a bit kiddish, if that's a word, right? And it wasn't. Okay, now I'm not the world's best reader or whatever, but I thought it was fine. And I was reading through it and I was enjoying it. You know, I'm 50 this year. It's 35 years since I played that book. And I'm like, this is brilliant. This is really, really good. So what I did, we didn't finish it, obviously, but I was making a map as we went. I now have a whole series of videos on my channel for Freeway Fighter, because over the week after GridCon, I then did it. I did it like 3 or 4 times the next week, and then I think I finished it at the weekend. The whole series is there. It's probably about 7 hours worth of videos. We kept dying, obviously. We got killed in a number of different ways, but we just played it back and we learned and we did the map and everything else. So yeah, they're all there. They're all on the channel. I enjoyed it so much, and Patreon supporters enjoyed it, that it became a regular thing, okay? So all of those videos are on the channel now. Obviously spoilers, because we play through the whole thing. More on fighting fantasy books later on. But yes, Freeway Fighter, really, really enjoyed it. Next up, another game which was suggested months ago, Blackstone Fortress. Now, Blackstone Fortress, for those who don't know, is a Games Workshop game with miniatures based on HeroQuest. Now, the reason we did Blackstone Fortress is because months and months ago, I decided, as a bit of a joke and a bit of an experiment, to go back and play HeroQuest. And we found a mod on Tabletop Simulator, which had all of the 3D miniatures and everything else. And that's what we did. That is on my channel about 6 months ago, me playing HeroQuest. It was awful. The game was just awful. Now, HeroQuest is a game that I have huge amounts of respect for, right? Without HeroQuest, we wouldn't have Descent. We wouldn't have Gloomhaven. I don't think. I honestly don't think we would. I think HeroQuest was groundbreaking at the time, and I played it a bunch. But it's so dated, and we've moved on so far, and it's like, it was painful. Playing it again was painful, and it wasn't, and I know it's dice for combat. I knew that going in. I knew that it was dice for movement, but it was just painful. And at the time, a number of people said, yeah, don't even bother with Advanced HeroQuest. Skip that as well. What you want to play, Paul, if you want to play a game like HeroQuest, but that's been updated and is a bit more modern, you want to try, was it Warhammer Quest Silver Tower? And then somebody said, or Blackstone Fortress. Blackstone Fortress is the Warhammer 40k version of Silver Tower. Now, I love the 40k universe, right? The whole grimdark and all of the artwork and everything. I just love it. So we agreed to do this, and this was agreed like 2 or 3 months ago, and it was just waiting for a time for it to happen. So there's the backstory. And we did that. That is on the channel now. We found a Tabletop Simulator mod, and we played through Blackstone Fortress, and it was really good. And it is a game which I am very, very tempted to try and pick up myself. The only reason I'm not going to is because I already have too many games and not enough time. But I loved it. I thought the mechanism, yeah, sure, it's dice for combat, but the game has evolved so much from HeroQuest, and there's so much detail, and there was so much stuff going on. Thematically, it worked. The characters were interesting. I would definitely play that. Right, so whoever's coming round this afternoon, forget the lore. I will not bother editing this video log. Let's play Prague Caput Regni followed by Blackstone Fortress. There you go. No, I really enjoyed it. Really, really good. In fact, I do have a game of it planned. John Madani, who was one of the people who played that, has a physical copy of the game. He's going to paint up all of the miniatures, and we've arranged to play it, the actual physical version, at my next physical convention that I can go to. So I am going to play it again. Right. Then I had lunch. Then I played Monster Expedition. So this is a new Alexander Pfister game, or Pfister. I think you're supposed to pronounce the P. I keep meaning to ask him. I spoke to him yesterday, actually. I should have asked him. Anyway, new game from Alexander Pfister, but it's lighter. And when I spoke to him about this, he said, Paul, I know you like my heavy games. This is super light, okay? You might be disappointed. So I went into it, and it is a small box game, and it is light. Compared to his other ones, it is light. So I went into it thinking, okay, this is just going to be a bit of a light family game, and it's actually really good, okay? It plays well, it plays smooth, it's nice the way that it works, the dice mechanism works well. It is a game where you're going out and you're trying to capture monsters, but it has a way that you build up your base, and the cards have powers. The video's on the channel. It's probably easier if you just go and have a quick look at that video. But yeah, that was really good. I did a 3-player playthrough of that on the Sunday. And then finally, to end Virtual GridCon 2, I played Caylus 1303. Caylus is one of my favourite games of all time. It used to be my #1 game for a few years. So it was nice to end the convention by playing Caylus 1303. And not just that, and no disrespect to my newer friends, but I played it with 2 people that I've known for about 10 years, something like that. I think 10 years. So I played it with Dan, who's been on the channel. You've seen him here a couple of times. I've known Dan for a long time. And Joe over in the States, I've known Joe for a long time as well. So it was really good to end the convention by playing a game that I love with 2 people that I've known for a long time. And yeah, really good. Caylus 1303. One of my favourite games of all time was Caylus, and 1303 I think is a better version of the old game. Sure, it loses a couple of bits that the old game had, but the reason I didn't play the old game anymore is because it was a little bit long, and the new version is more streamlined and shorter. And more streamlined and shorter, while still capturing the same feel, that works for me. Right, that was the end of Virtual GridCon. The week after, as I mentioned, Freeway Fighter. So I think Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and then the Sunday, I did Freeway Fighter. Okay, so all of those videos are on the channel now. 4th of December, Tabletop Simulator again for Gates of Mara. So Gates of Mara is a new game that is releasing around now, coming from WizKids, and it is designed by JB Howell. WizKids asked me to do the how to play video for the game, which I've done. That's on the channel now. If you want to learn how to play Gates of Mara, I have done one of my tutorial videos, but they also, to tie in with the tutorial video, they wanted me to do one of my playthrough videos, and Nick and Gemma had agreed to come over and we were going to do a playthrough video. Unfortunately, the new tier restrictions came out in the UK and Nick and Gemma were not allowed to come round, so we had to play it over Tabletop Simulator. So ideally, I would have done the playthrough with physical components, but we weren't able to due to lockdown. So we did a 3-player playthrough using Tabletop Simulator of Gates of Mara. So if you're interested in Gates of Mara, I've got 2 videos for you. I have the 20 few minutes, it's something like that. It's about 22 minutes, I think. A purely instructional video teaching you how to play the game. That's on the channel now. And also, I've got the tutorial and playthrough if you'd prefer to see us playing it while I teach you how to play the game. Both of those videos are on the channel now if you want to watch them. We're getting close, we're getting close. On the 9th of December, I played Fium, which is the new game from Friedemann Friese. And maybe it's just because I was in a good place, but after I played it, I announced on social media that that is my favourite Friedemann Friese game. Now, Friedemann Friese games for me can be a bit hit and miss. Some of them are fantastic, and some of them are really, really solid good games, and others are just, what? I said, yeah, I didn't like that. Okay, but one thing is for sure, the man is a genius. The man is a crazy genius. He thinks outside the box. He's extremely clever, and he comes up with such wacky ideas. Power Grid, one of his most respected, well-known games, is not actually that wacky. Power Grid is just a solid Euro game. But so many of his other ones, it's like, what crazy genius came up with this? 504, for example, but not just 504, which is totally crazy genius. But a lot of his other games are very, very clever. And Fium is very, very clever. The card play in the game is brilliant. You have 5 cards in your hand at the start of the game, and on your turn you play a card, you put it on your discard pile, and you do what it says, right? And then it's gone. But one of the actions that you can do in the game is you can do a reset. What's it called? Can't remember what it's called. Anyway, you can do a thing. Administration, that's it. You can do administration. And when you do administration, you get money based on how many cards you've got in your hand. So you get 3 money minus however many cards you've got in your hand. So the game kind of encourages you to only do administration when you've played all your cards, but you don't need to. And then what you do is you get 3 cards back from your discard pile. Now, you're going to be buying extra cards during the game. So as the game goes on, you will be putting cards into your discard pile, and then when you do the administration, you'll get 3 back. Now, you can buy more back, but it costs you money. Basically, what I'm saying is, as the game goes on, some of the cards you play will end up at the bottom of your discard pile and you'll never see them again. And it's really clever, the order in which you play your cards, because you're only going to get the top ones back again, unless you spend money. So that's clever. But the other thing I like about the game is the game comes with all of these components, right? Loads and loads of components for roads, bridges, towns, settlements, golden bridges, workshops, all of these things. But at the start of the game, your initial cards are go and get some resources, build a road, or place a settlement. That's it. So all of these other components, you're like, well, what are they for? Well, that'll be for the cards later on, because there is a market in the game. There's a card offer, which works a little bit like Power Grid, in that these are the 4 that you can buy, and these are 4 future ones. But when a new card gets added in, it takes its place in the row. And it's like, oh, well, what does that card do? Well, that card allows you to build a workshop. So basically, as the game goes on, the cards that allow you to introduce all of the other components, they arrive later and later in the game, usually. Because of the card numbers, it could be that one of them comes out early. So basically, you can explain the game as it goes along. You don't need to know how the workshops work until a card comes out that uses the workshops. And that's really good. Now, I played a 2-player game of it online, again, using Tabletop Simulator with Aldi from BGG. We were going to play it. First of all, it was going to be a 3-player game. And it was going to be a 3-player game using physical components. But Scott's copy got held up in Frankfurt. And then Tom Heath had just moved house, so he'd lost his internet. So it ended up being a 2-player game with me and Scott playing over Tabletop Simulator. Thankfully, the Tabletop Simulator mod was really good. It was an unofficial one, but it was great. So thank you very much to the person who created that, who then contacted me afterwards. And yeah, FIAM, I'm going to say it again. If this is a drinking game and you have a drink, every time Paul says, I want to play it again, then you're probably drunk by now. But no, FIAM played it 2-player. I'm going to be playing it solo at some point, but it plays up to 5. And I'm going to be playing that again. It was really good. Since posting it on social media, some people have decided to take the opportunity to say, oh, well, we thought it was rubbish. And it's like, oh. You know, I was enjoying myself. I was excited. I was happy. And suddenly I find other people are like, oh, we thought it was awful. 4 of us played it and none of us enjoyed the game. We all wanted to stop playing halfway through. And I'm like, okay, maybe I got too excited. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe the game is awful. I don't know. And maybe I was just in a good mood. But after speaking to Scott about it afterwards, he loved the game as well. So, you know, different strokes for different folks. Just, you know, if somebody's enjoying a game, maybe it's not a good thing to stamp all over them and tell them how crap you think the game was. Anyway, moving on. On the 10th, I sort of played Stressbotics. I say sort of. I've logged it as a play. This was a rulebook test, okay? So 2 Tomatoes, who are going to be producing Stressbotics. It's not even gone on Kickstarter yet. It's going to be going on Kickstarter at some point next year. They contacted me to do some rulebook consultancy on the game. So I'm not officially writing the rulebook for the game. They just paid me for a day's work to basically do consultancy on the current state of the rulebook. The best way for me to do that was for me to try to play the game from the existing rulebook. They sent me a Tabletop Simulator mod, they sent me the rulebook, me and a couple of friends got together and we played 1 round of the game. It's a 13-round game and we played 1 round of the game. So I've logged it as a play, even though we didn't really play a full game. And because it was a professional job, I can't really tell you too much about it, other than It's a heavy, complex game. I mean, we're talking Vital Lacerda complexity here. So if you like that kind of thing, keep an eye on this game. The theme of the game was unique. It was just really cool. It's like robots in the core of a planet, mining, and the mechanisms in the game. We all talked about it afterwards. And we're all like, this is pretty unique. This is quite special. This is doing things quite different. This is just a complex game, and it's going to need it's going to need a good rule book. And basically, my feedback to them was, this appears to be a very good game, right? They've put years into designing and developing this game. Visually, it looks good. Thematically, it's great. Mechanically, it was good. But if you don't have a good rule book, this game is gonna fail, because people are going to get this game and they're going to struggle. Can you imagine? This is going to sound a bit arrogant, but can you imagine getting a Vital Lacerda game with a terrible rule book? Okay, and I say it might sound a bit arrogant because I help him with these rule books, but if you got a game of that complexity, I mean, there are many games out there that come out and the rule book's just terrible, and you struggle and you give up. You can't play the game and you give up. And I think Stressbotics needs a good rule book, because there is a great game in there, and unfortunately, due to my workload next year, I'm probably not going to be able to take on doing that rulebook myself, but my advice to them was that they need to get a very good rulebook editor for the rulebook. I don't know, I might be able to do more to help them out, because certainly from what I saw about the game, I was like, well, I would love to be involved in this if I could, because it's just fascinating, but we will see. On the 11th of December, I did a solo playthrough of Kanban. Now, I've done a how to play video for Kanban. This is the new version, Kanban EV. So I've done a how to play video for Kanban. That's on the channel now, but that video didn't cover the solo rules. Okay, so what I agreed to do is I agreed to do a solo tutorial and playthrough, and that happened last Friday. That's on the channel now, and although it was a solo game, I did it with Andy from One Man and His Meeple, because I've done a solo game with Andy before. Me and Andy played on Mars solo, and it worked really well. So it's a solo game, but me and Andy were playing together as the solo player. We were talking about our decisions, about what we should do. And the solo game of Kanban EV is designed by David Turczi. So David worked on the solo game, and you're actually playing against two other opponents. You're playing against Mr. Turczi and Mr. Lacerda. They're two colleagues who are working in the factory. And just going back to what I said about solo modes and how I don't like that much admin to control other players, this was fine, okay? It appeared at first, when I had a run through it in the afternoon, I'm going to really struggle with this. That's what I thought. I thought, oh no, I'm struggling with this. But after I'd done a few rounds, I was like, okay, you draw a card, you look up that's where he's going to go, he goes there. Oh, he can't go there because that's already there, so it goes here instead. Done. Then this goes here, right? And it was all very, very clever. The way that the two colleagues, Mr. Turczi and Mr. Lacerda, the way that they choose their department was clever, and it worked, and it made sense. And then what they do within those departments also made sense. And yeah, it's a good game. And the way that it handles the scoring is also quite clever, because you only have your score. You don't have any other players' scores, but whenever the other players get points, you lose points. And if you go below 0, you get fired, which is really cool. We almost got fired about 2/3 of the way through the game, but we brought it back and we did well. So if you want to learn how the solo game of Kanban EV works, it's on the channel now. That video is an official one. Vital was in the chat. David was in the chat. So it's all correct. We played the game correctly, and you can see the solo game being played. Finally, on Monday of this week, I played through Agamonia Tutorial 2. Now, I logged this as a play because on the Monday night, I actually did a live playthrough with Polyhedron Collider and Ryan from Man vs. Meeple, where I didn't play the game, but I was teaching them. But in the afternoon, I actually played through the game myself. So I played through Tutorial 2 of Agamonia, and then in the evening, I did a live stream. So you can't see the afternoon one. Well, you can if you're a patron supporter, because you got access to that sneak preview. But the evening one was live streamed on the channel. Agamonia was going to be released on Kickstarter in January. They have pushed it back. I don't know how far they've pushed it back. It might be March. It might even be a bit later. But it is a fantasy cooperative game. I've done a whole bunch of videos on it before, but they were all for Tutorial 1. If you're interested in the game, Tutorial 2 is on the channel now. And that, whew, I think I talked longer about each of the games there than I normally do. This is probably going to be a long video, but never mind. Right, that is everything that I've done. All of the games that I've played in the last 5 or 6 weeks. Right, now let's move on to other content that's come to the channel. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 how to play videos that have been made live since the last video log. How is this possible when each one of them takes 30 to 40 hours to make? It's because some of these had actually been finished beforehand but were waiting to be released. So, Merv, The Heart of the Silk Road, I've mentioned that. That is a tutorial video on how to play Merv. It's on the channel now. Gates of Mara, I've mentioned that. That's on the channel. Lost Ruins of Arnak, 2 videos for Lost Ruins of Arnak, 1 for the base game and 1 for the solo game. I have also done a solo playthrough video as well, if you wanted to watch that. But in terms of purely tutorial videos, there's 1 for the base game and there's 1 for the solo game. They're on the channel now. Kanban EV, that was actually done a couple of months ago, but that is now live as well. And Under Falling Skies is the last one that I finished. So again, a 2-parter video. Under Falling Skies base game in 1 video, and the second video is Under Falling Skies with the full rules with the other cities, the rules for the robots, and the rules for the campaign. So yeah, Under Falling Skies and Lost Ruins of Arnak, 2 of the hottest games right now. If you want to learn how to play those, I know other videos are available. I've watched a couple of other videos, and unfortunately people do make mistakes. If you want the official tutorial videos with the absolute correct rules, my videos are the place to go to find them. No disrespect to anybody who's done a playthrough and got the rules right, I just know I saw some where they got some fairly big rules wrong. Right, other things that I've been doing in the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've been doing lots of live unboxings, and I've got 2 this week. So I really like the live unboxings. They're relatively easy for me to do. They do take a bit of time, but they're good fun. And the audience participation is why I do them. So Paladins of the West Kingdom, The King is Dead, Hallertau, Paris, Sidereal Confluence, Viscounts of the West Kingdom, Kingdom Rush, Import-Export, and Mercado de Lisboa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 unboxing videos on the channel since the last video log. I know not everybody likes unboxing videos, but I think doing them live is fun because there's a bit of audience participation. Obviously, they're not sponsored. They are funded through the Patreon, so they do take time to prepare, plan, sort the studio out, get everything ready, and then do it. But I do like doing them. Right, other things about the channel. I've talked about this before, but I will mention it again just in case anybody watching for the first time doesn't know this. All of my ad revenue on YouTube goes to charity, every single penny of it. I know my channel doesn't get as many views as a lot of the bigger channels, so the amount of money that I make from the ad revenue isn't as much as the big popular channels, but all of it goes to charity. So even this video, if you watched an advert at the start of this video, that 1 pence has gone to charity. And this month I just wanted to tell you where the money has gone. So I've actually split the money this month to 2 worthy causes. A fellow content creator, Jeremy Howard, who is part of Man vs. Meeple and also does his own things, he posted something on social media a few weeks ago. And it was basically just an announcement to anybody who saw the message, because Thanksgiving was coming up at the end of November. And Thanksgiving is a time, we don't do Thanksgiving in the UK, but in America, it's a time where you have a big meal. You get together, you have a big meal with the family, and you give thanks to all of the things that you're thankful for, I believe, right? And a number of families struggle at time of Thanksgiving because they can't afford to do that. Okay, putting on a big meal for a whole family is an expensive thing, okay? And some of them couldn't afford to do it. So Jeremy, bless him, he's such a, I'm so pleased to be able to call Jeremy a friend. He's such a good person. He did a thing and he basically said, look, if you're struggling, contact me and I will send you $50. No questions asked. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to explain it. But if you're struggling and you want to put a meal on the table for your family, just contact me and he'll send them the money. And I said, I contacted him and I said, look, can I help? And he said, yeah, just you send me some money and that will go into this pot, and this pot is being used. So some of the ad revenue from this month has gone to that. And the other thing is that this month we've donated money to Book Trust. Book Trust is a UK charity that basically provides books to children in need, children in care. And it was a suggestion from one of my Patreon supporters that we give money to them, so that's what we do. And speaking of suggestions, let me know yours. I asked this last month and I didn't actually get that many, but if you have any suggestions on where the charity money should go, please just contact me. Either leave a comment in this video or contact me privately or whatever. However you want to contact me, just let me know. And we will add them to a list, and every month we will donate. I'm not allowed to say how much it is because YouTube have rules about we're not allowed to say how much money we've made from them, but yeah, it's a bit, and I'm happy to carry on doing that. So there we go, that's the ad revenue. Now let's give you a Patreon update. So Patreon update, again, for new people who are watching, I run a Patreon, okay? A lot of the work that I do is sponsored. Obviously the rulebook writing is paid for, and a number of those videos that I've mentioned earlier today, they are commissioned videos. The how to play videos are commissioned pieces of work. However, all of these other videos that I mentioned, all of these playthroughs, not all of them, but most of these playthroughs and all of the unboxings and this video and a lot of my other stuff is only made possible through the support of my Patreon. I use the Patreon funds basically to allow me financially the flexibility to take time off the paid work to produce all of the other content. That is what the Patreon is for. And the Patreon support has had a good month. November was a good month. So far, December is not a good month, but you get these ups and downs, but November was a good month. Thank you very much to all of the people who have started supporting me in November. There is an image on screen now of all of the new executive producers and all of the new producers and all of the people who are supporters. Thank you very much. And obviously a big thank you to everybody who supports me, who isn't on that list. In other words, everybody who has continued to support me. Some of you have been with me since the start. And without you, this wouldn't be possible. When I started the Patreon campaign 3 years ago, I was at the point where I needed to actually seriously consider giving this up because the money that I was getting in from the commission stuff, it wasn't working out for me. So I used the Patreon to supplement the income. And then what happened is over the last 3 years, the Patreon has been that successful. I've actually started doing less of the commissioned work and more of the fun stuff, the stuff that you want to see. I'm basically happier now than I was 3 years ago. So thank you for that, and let's let it continue. Let's keep going. Now, one thing that I do with the Patreon is every month I do a giveaway, and I did the draw this morning. So last month's giveaway was from Jordan Draper, who I'm now working with professionally. Jordan said he'd give us a couple of games to use as a Patreon giveaway, which was a copy of Tokyo Tsukiji Market and Cactus, okay? And I did the draw this morning, and Claire Zigmund has won, so congratulations, Claire. I've already sent you an email and you've already replied, but officially, thank you very much for supporting me and congratulations on winning. Jordan will send you your games. Now this month's giveaway is a little different because I obviously arranging the giveaways is a lot of, it takes time and effort because I have to contact publishers and ask and things like that and arrange it all. The giveaway that I had for this month is unfortunately not going to be possible because the game isn't out. And I need to speak to the publisher to actually see if they're still interested in, they said they would, but this was months ago. Anyway, so what I'm doing this month is I'm going to be doing something a bit different. I've had a bit of a clear out of the games room in the attic recently, and I've gone through a number of games which I have, which I do not need. Some of these are brand new games, still in shrink, that I got given as spare copies. Some of them are ones that I got sent with no strings attached. Like, Paul, we'd like to send you a copy of this game. We don't care what you do with it. You can put it on the channel, you can give it away, you can do what you want with it, right? I've had a few of them. Also, I've got a couple of games which I have in my collection, which I've played once and have thought, okay, no, you know, I can't play all of the games all of the time. So some of these games are played once by me and I'm moving them on. Anyway, what I'm going to do this month is I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to give away 3 prizes, okay? So there are going to be 3 winners this month. I will do the draw at the start of January. There's going to be 3 winners, and I will pick the people in order, and each of you will pick a game from a list, okay? So it'll be first come, first served. So I have a copy of Gloomhaven Forgotten Circles. I have a copy of Roman Roll. I have a copy of Atelier. I have a copy of Ecos. I have a copy of Chronicles of Crime. I've got a copy of Summoner's Isle. And I've got a copy of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, the Red Box, the West End Adventures and the Jack Ripper. Okay, so they are, as going through them, they're what I've got. There'll be three people who win, and each person picks a game from that list. And I'll do that in January. Right, there we go. Plans for December. Well, I'm actually going to talk about my plans for December and January. So this week and next week, I am working on the how to play video for Import Export. That should be done before Christmas. I am also working on a how to play video for Venice, which may be done before Christmas. If it isn't, I will either do it between Christmas and New Year, or I'll do it at the start of January, okay? Import Export should definitely be done before Christmas. There's no reason why it can't get done. I have the time to do it. Venice, I'm not sure I'll be able to get it all finished, right? But there are 2 more how to play videos coming to the channel this year. I've got an unboxing video this Thursday. I am unboxing Ginkgopolis, which is a game that I missed first time round. Everybody said Ginkgopolis was fantastic and that I'd really enjoy it, but I missed it. And then I heard they were doing a reprint of it this year, and they've sent me a copy. So I'm doing an unboxing of that, and then it will get added to the list of games that I need to play. And on Friday this week, so this video is probably going to go public on Thursday. So on Friday of this week, I'm doing Kingdom Rush with Isaac Childress. So it was Isaac's birthday months and months ago, it was Isaac's birthday. And I dropped him an email and I said, for your birthday, I'd like to give you a gift, and I'd like you to pick any game you want, and I will teach you how to play that game. And we can live stream it, or we can do it privately. That email got lost. But about a month ago, I was talking to him about something else, and I mentioned the email, and he said, "Oh yeah, I don't remember getting that." I said, "Well, the offer's still there," and he said, "Okay, well let's do something." And I said, "Right, well the date I've got free in my calendar next is Friday, the 18th of December. Would you be up for doing something then?" And he said, "Yeah." So we've been talking about what game to do, and earlier this week, we filtered the game choices down to Kingdom Rush. Isaac wants to play Kingdom Rush. I'm more than happy to play Kingdom Rush. So this Friday, I'm going to be doing a 2-player playthrough of Kingdom Rush live on the channel. That's happening on Friday. At the weekend, I'll be finishing the import-export video, and then next week, on Wednesday, I'm doing a playthrough of Viscounts of the West Kingdom. This will either be on Tabletop Simulator, or it will be with real components. I don't know the game well enough, so I don't know if it's a game where we can play with real components. I don't know if there's any hidden information, but there is an official Tabletop Simulator mod, so we're probably just going to use that. Other things that I'm planning to do this year, I'm planning to actually take a little bit of time off over Christmas. I've been doing, as many of you know, I've been doing 7-day weeks now since, June? And I'm tired. I'm very, very tired, and I'm exhausted, and I need some time off, okay? So I will be slowing down. I am planning to have Christmas Day and Boxing Day completely off. I'm not planning to do any work on those 2 days. Between Christmas and New Year, unfortunately, I do have some rulebook work that I will be getting on with. But one of the things that I am doing, and this is at the request of my Patreon supporters, but I actually want to do it myself too, is I'm going to be doing some more fighting fantasy books. So I'm going to be playing through City of Thieves. I don't know when I'm going to start it, and I don't know what time of day I'm doing it, but keep an eye out on my YouTube channel, because between Christmas and New Year, there will be a series of videos, and it will probably be every day, at the same time every day, in order to keep it regular. But I'll be playing through City of Thieves. It'll be like Freeway Fighter. It will be live and interactive with you choosing where we go. And then when we die, we learn from it and we go back and we restart again. Freeway Fighter was fantastic. So we're going to be doing the same. We're going to be doing City of Thieves, book number 5. I have my original copy of the game. It's 36 years old. Yeah. I think the pages are still intact. January plans. I will mention January plans briefly. I'm going to be taking another couple of days off, hopefully, around New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. My plan is to, and the same thing is for Christmas Day and Boxing Day. So Christmas Day and Boxing Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I'm planning to sit and watch a lot of telly and do a lot of painting. Okay? So, and this ties in with my January plans. So my plans for January is to take a month off work. Now, that sounds crazy, right? How can I take a month off work? I've not had a holiday in 6 years, okay? In January will be the point where 6 years in January, I left my previous full-time job, okay? And I've not had a holiday in 6 years, and I think I deserve it. So what I'm doing is I am taking January off work right now. Now, here's the crazy thing, because I'm not actually taking a holiday. What I'm going to be doing, and I'll put it on screen now, these are my plans for January, right? And you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh, wait a minute, Paul, I thought you were taking it off work. So I am. The plan for January is that I'm not going to be doing any paid work in January, but as a thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for your support over the months and years, is I'm taking January off work in order to produce loads of playthrough videos. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm playing games. I enjoy playing games. And also, this is a time, and you can see from the list, I'm going to be playing Too Many Bones a lot. Now, Too Many Bones is a game I really want to play more of, and I just don't have the time. So I've made time, right? Maracaibo, I want to play the campaign for Maracaibo, and I don't have time. Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, I want to play the campaign, and I don't have time. I've made time. This is what I've done. Thanks to the support of the Patreon campaign, I've taken January off work and I'm basically live streaming. This is going to be my opportunity to do some of the things that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I mean, the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, I've been wanting to play that campaign for over a year and I've not been able to. And the Patreon support has enabled me financially to do that. The reality is there are 2 rule books that I'm working on right now that will not be finished before January. So I'm probably going to have to spend an hour or 2 a day doing paid work. That's just unfortunate, right? I didn't want to do that. I would have liked to have said, January, I'm not doing any paid work. But the reality is I'm probably going to have to do a little bit. But the focus is going to be on fun, unsponsored live streams on the channel. And I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Depending on the lockdown restrictions, I will be having some people round. John Dunnett's going to come round. Rick's going to come round. Dan's going to come round. Ben's going to come round. Nick and Gemma are going to come around. Not all at the same time, okay? But I have a whole host of things planned for people to come round to join me for these games. Not all of them. Some of them will be solo. But we don't know yet. Lockdown restrictions might be in place. December might be a solo games all the way or playing remotely. We will see. Right, so that's a quick sneak preview of the January plans. Oh, and also, and I didn't write this down, but I've just remembered, some of you may be wondering where my reviews have gone. Okay, so I'm supposed to do 1 review a month. I stopped doing the reviews a couple of months ago. Well, I put them on hold. I've not stopped. I will be carrying on with the reviews again, but at the moment, I'm focusing on all of the other content. I will be picking up on the reviews again in the new year, possibly in January. Possibly in February, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's not that I've stopped them completely, it's just with everything else going on, I've kind of put them on hold for a bit while I do the other stuff. Right, quick update on the personal stuff. One thing we've done is bought a piano. I mean, this is more for Vicky, not me. So years ago in the 90s, I used to be in a band, a rock band, and we played covers, and I was the keyboard player. So technically I can play keyboard, but I wasn't very good. And it's been 15 years since I've played. So I can play chopsticks on it. That's about it. I can't remember anything. Vicky, we have a real piano downstairs. We got it for free. when we moved in, but it's so out of tune and half of the strings are broken. It doesn't work. So we've been looking at getting a digital piano for a while, and we went out and we got this one last week. Yeah. So yeah, this is an early Christmas present for Vicky, and yeah, she's playing this now, and that makes her happy, which makes me happy. So we got that, but don't expect any musical stuff from me because I can't play and I can't sing. So that's that. I've been painting. So one of the bad habits that I've got into in the last couple of months is starting something and not finishing it. So some of you will know that I've been painting some of the miniatures from the Batman Gotham City Chronicles game, and I got so far with them, and then I left, and then I was on the thugs, and I'm like, okay, so I started doing these thugs, and then I got to a point with them where I got bored of those, so I moved on to the next ones, and then I got bored of those, so I moved on to the next ones. And then I started painting the Eclipse miniatures, so the spaceships from Eclipse 2nd edition. I started painting those, and then I got halfway through some of those and got bored and moved on. And then I thought, right, I need to paint the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth miniatures, but I'm going to be good. Rather than just leaving the other ones, I thought, right, I'm going to finish the other ones. So I've been back to the other ones that I was halfway through. They're now done. So all of the Batman miniatures that I was painting are now finished. I'll put a picture on screen so you can see them in the box. These look really good when they're all together. And the Eclipse miniatures, again, I finished up the ones that I was half finished on, and then I've put them away. I've put them in a nice storage box, but they're now all away, right? They're packaged away, they're all in boxes, they're not lying around. And I've started on the Lord of the Rings ones. I'll put a picture on screen about of how far I've got with these at the moment. These are not quite finished. They need a little bit more highlighting and a little bit more work on the flesh, but I'm pretty happy with how these have come out, and I'm trying a new basing technique, which I've followed Sarastro's videos on. So yeah, so doing a bit of painting whilst watching a bit of TV. We're still watching our normal comedies, Have I Got News for You, Mock the Weeks, things like that. Films, we watched 1917, that was really good. We also watched Transformers last night. I don't mean we watched Transformers last night, I mean we watched Transformers the last night. I like the Transformers films. I don't mind Michael Bay's directing and over-the-top special effects. I don't mind that at all. But Transformers the last night, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't in the right mood. Or maybe it's just a bad film. But yeah, wasn't really keen on that. And we've been watching Star Trek Discovery. We are up to date with Star Trek Discovery. And the last one we watched was part one of a two-parter. So yeah, really enjoying Star Trek Discovery. And there'll be lots more TV that I'm watching over Christmas. But other than that, I think that is everything. This has probably been a really long video log. I know I talked a lot more about the games than I normally talked about at the start, but yeah, I hope this was enjoyable. I'm going to be editing this afternoon, and during the editing process, I normally think, oh, I forgot to say that, and I forgot to say that, and I forgot to say that, but if I've forgotten anything, if it's major, I'll put it back in. If not, I'll just get to it in January. My plan is to do the next video log at the end of the first week in January. I don't want to do it at the very start of January because I'm not going to have played very much in the 2 weeks then. So I'm probably going to do the next one maybe at the end of the first week in January, maybe at the end of the, maybe at the start of the second one. But either way, this will be the last one for this year. Have a good Christmas or holidays or however you celebrate it. I'm not a big Christmas person myself. I don't celebrate it for various reasons. But you know, we have a tree and there's decorations in the house. I don't really do cards or presents or anything like that. But yeah, I'm hoping to have a couple of days off. But however you celebrate it or however you choose to spend your time, obviously wish you all the best. Thank you very much to all of you for all of your support and all of your kind comments and all of the videos over the year. They're really, really good to see. And obviously a thank you to all of my Patreon supporters, because without you, none of this would be possible. But that's everything. So I'm going to wrap things up now, go and start editing it, and then crack on with some more how to play videos tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you next month. Bye now. Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.